Earlier, we saw formulas used to define a transaction attribute, and now we'll see how formulas can be used in an object code. An inline formula is a formula we declare as a particular instruction within a specific code, such as the source of a procedure, and a web panel event, and so on. It may only be known in the object where it has been defined. Let's now see some examples where we use them. Let's suppose that the travel agency requires a listing to show all country names, and for each country, the number of tourist attractions available there. To solve this request, we create a procedure object and call it list countries with attractions quantity. As we are positioned on the source of the procedure, the first thing we must do is print a header. So we write the instruction print header. We go to the layout section to define the print block named header. And we assign that name to the print block provided by default. From the toolbox, we drag a text block control to the print block. In the text property of the text block, we type countries report and modify its font size, font color, and the background color. We will add another text to the print block, country, and define font size 12. We copy this text block and paste it to save time, and we only modify the text property of the new text block to quantity. Let's go back to the source to continue implementing the report. Following the instruction that prints the header, we must write a for each command to access the table that stores the countries and shows them. And inside the for each, we write print country, with the purpose of showing the country name attribute in that print block. We go to the layout and insert a new print block, which we call country. And inside it, we add the country name attribute. We move the attribute so that the country names are printed under the country title. We go back to the source. The for each so defined navigates the whole table of countries and shows the name of each country queried. Now the only thing left to do is solve the requirement that for each country, the number of attractions in it is printed. How can we implement this? We will do the calculation with an inline formula, and we'll show the result. Let's define a variable and assign to it the result returned by a count formula, and then we show the variable on the print block. We create it under the name attraction quantity and of numeric type. We go back to the source, and inside the for each, just prior to printing, we include the variable attraction quantity, and we assign to it the result returned by a count formula. Inside the parentheses, we must include an attribute from the attraction table because we want to count attractions, for example, attraction name. Let's analyze this code and see how it works. Formulas determine the table that will be navigated by the attributes referenced inside the parentheses. In this case, we included the attraction name attribute because we wanted to count attractions, and GeneXus understands it exactly that way. If the formula were not inside a for each, or in a context where a navigation is already taking place, then all attractions would be counted. However, since the formula is defined within a for each command, after the table that the formula navigates has been determined, GeneXus will analyze if it finds a relation between the base table of the for each and the table navigated by the formula. We can see that in this case, there's an attribute in common between the two navigations, country ID. So for each country navigated by the for each, its own attractions will be counted. It's like defining the following explicit filter condition in the formula, but it will not be necessary to write it because GeneXus applies that filter automatically when counting. Now all that remains is to add the attraction quantity variable to the country print block, so that immediately after having the count in the variable, we will show the number of attractions next to the country name. We should remember to set the report's properties, to issue it in web environment and PDF format. We'll also define the output file rule. We save and we execute it. This is how we solved the request we received. As we've seen, to determine the table that will be navigated by the formula, we did not consider the attributes referenced in the for each, but only those included in the definition of the formula. And likewise, to determine the table that will be navigated by the for each, the attributes referenced in the formula were not considered, but rather those used in the for each were the only ones considered. So now let's suppose that we've been requested to list all the countries with more than 2 attractions to visit. We save this procedure with a different name. And we will make a few changes in the source. We will add a where to the for each, and since the condition we were requested for the countries to be shown is that it have over 2 tourist attractions, instead of assigning the result of the count formula to a variable, we solve the requirement this way. Since this procedure was saved on the basis of another procedure, it has the necessary properties and rule set to print it as a PDF. So we execute it, and we can see the result. This completes 2 examples of use of inline formulas to easily obtain calculations. Lastly, we'll save the changes in GeneXus server.